Spring is making all sorts of beautiful flowers come out of the ground and present their petals to the sky. Their leaves are photosynthesizing, but flowers are far more than beautiful little things. They are beautiful machines, and this is how a flower works. How does a flower work? We can see this cross-section of a tulip in my high-end animation software. Let's start off by taking a look at the anatomy of a flower. The carpel is this stem part with the sticky stigma on top, and it goes down here. This is part of the female anatomy of a flower. If you didn't know, flowers have both male and female sex organs. Down here we have the ovule, which has of the flower. It is this part, once it's fertilized, that will turn into seeds and eventually the fruit as well. Flowers always turn into fruit, but it's not always what you and I would think of as a fruit. For example, roses turn into rose hips. Think you can make tea out of those. On the male organs, we have the stamen, which is the stem with this little cattail looking thing. It's the stem with the anther on it. The way I remember that it's the male organ is it has the word men in it. In order for the flower to get fertilized, to get the ovule to make seeds and kick along the process, the stamen or the pollen produced by the anther needs to make its way to the stigma. Now, this can happen just by wind and jostling. The flower would just eventually get a little bit up there. But it's generally not a good idea for flowers to self-fertilize due to the potential of recessive genes negatively impacting the life of the organism. There's a whole lot of reasons why it's not a good idea to inbreed, but generally life forms avoid it when they have other options. It's good they can self-fertilize as a fallback plan, though some flowers are picky and will not do that. But let's pretend there's no wind and that first. But some flowers can be picky and they will not be able to self-fertilize. Either way, fertilizing with others of the same species is much more beneficial to the survival of the organism and the species as a whole. And flowers accomplish this by cool means. They use other insects, but what they can do is lure insects to do their own bidding. The combination of the pretty colors on the petals, as well as the production of nectar down in the bottom of the flower, functions as a free candy sign for pollinators such as bees. So bees have tremendously good senses of smell, and they smell that sweet, juicy nectar, and they fly towards it. They go down into the flower, they get all the nectar at the bottom, they bump up, and they collect pollen from the anther. If you keep an eye on bees that are flying around, you will notice there's a lot of pollen under their legs. And then the bees fly, they have to hit a lot of flowers, so they'll fly and they fly down, and boom, it just fertilized that flower with the stamen. Goes down, gets its nectar, goes up, goes over the next flower, gets its nectar. Then once the bees are full, they fly back to the beehive where they throw up and it turns into honey, where they throw up the nectar into cells, and then the bees go back to the beehive where they throw up their nectar into cells, and that bee throw up is what we call honey.